Terrific. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Aurora's Committee of Adjustment meeting. I will start by introducing the committee members and staff. I am the committee chair, and my name is Tom Plamondon. And the remaining members of the committee are as follows. My vice chair is Daniel Lajeunesse. Other members of the committee are Steve D'Angeli and Michelle Boyer. I'll also introduce as observers this evening, Linda Derringer and David Mango. So Linda, put your hand up, and David, put your hand up so that everybody knows that you're here. The Secretary Treasurer is Bershante Manoharan. Attending from the Town Clerk's Department is Ishita Sonji. And from the Planning Department, the Manager of Development Planning is Anna Henriquez. And our planner this evening is Rosanna Punat. This meeting this evening is a public meeting, and it is being audio and video recorded. It is also being conducted virtually through the use of Zoom technology. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports that are being considered tonight are available on the Town of Aurora website and through staff at the town's planning department. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions of tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form, which is available through the town staff. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. For each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the application or applications, and then the applicant or agent will then be given an opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. I'll remind the applicants and agents that we try and keep those presentations to a maximum of 5 minutes. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and must provide this information to the Secretary Treasurer. Should you wish to obtain a copy of the notice of decision, please complete again the appropriate form available through the Secretary Treasurer. Members of the public are reminded that text comments are not permitted during the meeting and that they will not be noted in any manner or at any time. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentations shall be made. I'll ask that those of you who are currently watching on YouTube that please turn off the YouTube live feed when you are about to address the committee. There is about a 2-minute lag on the YouTube feed of the meeting. So when you are called, please turn off the YouTube live feed. Also, if you do require any technical assistance with your presentation, please let me know. Please ensure that all questions and or comments are directed through me as the chair, and if relevant, I will request the appropriate person respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to any question or comments should the committee feel that it is appropriate. So again, tonight's meeting will now commence. So looking at the agenda for this evening, I will look to the committee for a motion to approve the agenda as circulated. Michelle, thank you very much. Seconded by Daniel, I think I saw, and all in favor of the agenda. And I see all hands up. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time and the observers, because we are now doing these meetings via Zoom, typically votes are recorded by show of hands. And that's the easiest way for us to function. And we operate the same way when it comes time for questions. Just raising your hand will get our attention. I'll ask if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. And I see heads shaking no, thank you very much. I'll look to the committee then for a adoption of the minutes for the Committee of Adjustment meeting of February the 11th, 2021. And this is meeting number 21-02. Stephen, thank you very much. And seconder on that. Michelle, thank you. All of those in favor of the minutes as circulated. Thank you so much. All right, presentation of applications for this evening. So the first application that we will be considering this evening is a minor variance application for 26 Machel Avenue. This is file MV 2021-07. So the owner, so for this application, the owner is requesting the following relief from the town's zoning bylaw 6000-17 is amended to facilitate the construction of a new foundation for an existing dwelling within the same footprint. Section 4.4.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a building or structure erected, a building or structure erected prior to the date of the passing of the bylaw having less than the minimum yard requirement for the zone where it is located may be repaired or renovated, provided the repair or renovation complies with the provisions of the bylaw. The applicant is proposing to rebuild the foundation wall at the existing non-compliant location of the building. B, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 6 meters for a single detached dwelling. The applicant is proposing a 0 meter front yard setback. Section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback.
What speaker?
Sorry. Requires a minimum interior yard setback of 1.5 meters for a 2-story building. The applicant is proposing a 0 meter south side yard setback. D, section 4.20 of the zoning bylaw does not allow any encroachment into interior side yard for decks. The applicant is proposing a wood frame deck with a south side yard setback of 0.7 meters. E, section 4.20 of the zoning bylaw requires steps and landings to maintain minimum 0.3 meter from interior side lot line. The applicant is proposing new stairs and landing with a 0 meter north side yard setback. And going through comments from staff on the zoning bylaw, the existing house is entirely located within the R7 special mixed density residential, which permits single detached dwelling. The balance of the lands is zoned EP, Environmental Protection Zone, which does not permit single detached dwellings. And looking at comments, and I'll just highlight some of the comments that are relevant to this particular application. In the town's comments, as it relates to the official plan, variants A to D meet the general intent of the official plan. Variance E does not meet the general intent of the official plan. Variance E, staff have requested the applicant to consider modifying the orientation of the stairs to reduce the extent of the yard encroachment. However, the applicant decided to proceed with the application as submitted. Staff are of the opinion that variance E will negatively affect the visual quality of the streetscape in which the official plan seeks to protect. With respect again to variant E, because the proposed stairs is a new structure and may result in privacy issues with the adjacent property to the north, staff are not satisfied with the design of the proposed stairs and are of the opinion that it does not meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw. So these are comments on the zoning bylaw. Again, comment from staff, variant A to D is considered desirable for the appropriate development of the property. Variance E is considered not desirable for the appropriate development of the property. Other comments relating to agencies that have been circulated. Building Division preliminary zoning review was completed on January the 26th, 2021. Engineering Division, the applicant shall obtain approval from the owner of the adjacent property to the north for the proposed retaining wall, a permission to access their property for the construction work, and permission to access their property for the construction work. Operational services, no comments with the proposed minor variance. Central York Fire Services, no comments have been received at the time of the writing of this report. Same for York Region. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, no concerns with the applicant, subject to the applicant obtaining an LSRCA permit and remit the outstanding service fee. And Electric Utilities, no comments have been received at the time of the writing of the report.
Oh, for goodness sake.
So I'll ask if the applicant or agent is with us this evening. Mr. Walker, I believe that is you. And I'll ask you to unmute your mic so that we can hear you. And good evening and welcome, sir.
Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Walker, and welcome. So perhaps Mr. Walker is following us on his YouTube live feed. So hopefully he'll turn that off and he can come into the meeting live. Mr. Walker, can you hear me?
Hey? Hello?
Hello, Mr. Walker. Good evening.
Can't hear anything.
You are live and you've just turned your mic off again.
Hello? Oh. Oh, hey. Oh, I don't know.
Stu? Through the chair, Mr. Walker, we could hear you before you muted. So if you want to try to unmute again, please try now.
Can't hear.
Perfect. We can hear you. Sorry,
Hello?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah,
Increase your volume, please. Oh dear, where is it? Maximum. Oh, okay. Where'd it go?
Okay, good. Let's try this again, Mr. Walker. Good evening. Welcome.
Where's the volume? I've got one volume running. How did I do the other volume? Sorry, guys. Tom, can you hear me? Please take off your glasses if you can hear me. Okay, thank you. I'm not hearing you, so where's my volume? Oh, for goodness sake. Oh, there it is. No, bottom right. Yeah, that one's on. That says maximum.
Yeah, try that.
Okay, which is the other one?
Try that.
It could be his laptop volume not on.
I think we're in business. Nope.
Yeah, it could be your laptop volume is on your computer is not up. If you go to your computer.
Oh, for goodness sake. I do apologize, Tom, but I do not see how I'm supposed to turn this on.
Okay.
I see speakers 50. What does that mean?
That would be percentage of volume, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, that's percentage of volume. If you can hear me now.
Microphone should be on.
Yeah,
Speaker should be on. No.
Yeah,
And I cannot hear a thing. Put it to 100%. I'm trying to. How do I increase it? Oh, for goodness sake. Oh dear. Sorry, Tom. Sorry.
That's okay. And he's just turned his mic off.
Temporarily unmuted.
You're good
Now
now.
you're good. Now you're good.
Oh, no, it's muted again.
Now it's muted.
No.
I don't know how the speaker comes in. Let's turn off that speaker.
Prashanthi,
Sorry, folks.
Prashanthi,
I don't know.
suggestion.
Maybe you can
Prashanthi,
phone in. Maybe you
you
can
Might
dial
fix
in.
the issue. That's all you're saying. I don't know what else might fix the issue.
Prashanthi, can you reach
Hi,
him?
Michelle.
Do you have a
Thank you.
telephone number for him at home? Because if you do,
Yeah, I can send him a telephone number.
yeah,
Keep the video, sir, but yes.
if he can't hear us though, Daniel, or
Yeah, that's why I stopped my sentence halfway. So,
yeah. What if Prashanthi can call him?
Zoom has a phone number. Zoom usually has a dial-in phone number,
Yeah,
right? You have to unmute yourself.
for some reason he can't hear us though.
Yeah, but he keeps pressing the mute button.
I know.
maybe through chat, we could let him know that he seems to be following chat. We let him know to use the phone.
You can tell he is frustrated. There's no question.
If we can just let them know there's no rush. I mean, one of the options too, for Shanti, is maybe if we set up another Zoom meeting and we continue with the second application and then come back to this one.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, we can.
somebody can work with them offline to get
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. We can
All right, so let's do this properly. So what I'll do is I'll look for a motion from a member of the committee to table this item for on the agenda to a later position on the agenda, so we can come back to it. Moved by Stephen, seconded by Michelle. All in favor? All right, so that we can come back to this. So let's move on. Let me just pull the next application up on my computer.
I'm sorry, Tom, through you, Mr. Chair, just a quick question. So we can move the second application up if that's what you would like, and I can let the second applicant in, and we'll communicate with Prashanti, and I will communicate with Hugh to see if he can join in. So we'll put him back in the waiting room, and then he can join in again. Okay.
Beautiful.
All right.
Thank you
No
very
problem.
much. Thank you. Okay. So do we have the other applicant with us now? Yes. So, okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to move to item 4.2. And this is minor variance for 60 Fairway Drive, minor variance 2020-23. And this application was deferred from our February 11th, 2021 meeting. So the owner is requesting the following relief from the town zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to permit the construction of a two-story single detached dwelling. A section 24.497.3.3 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum footprint of 235 square meters. The applicant is proposing a detached dwelling with a footprint of 247.6 square meters. B, section 24.497.3.3 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum gross floor area of 370 square meters. The applicant is proposing a detached dwelling with a gross floor area of 484.3 square meters. So the official plan designates the property to fall within the stable neighborhoods of the official plan, which provides for single detached dwellings. The subject property is zoned R3-SN 497 by zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended, which permits single detached dwellings. Exception 497 contains area-specific standards to regulate infill residential developments in various established neighborhoods. With regards to the official plan from planning staff are of the opinion that the requested variance will result in a dwelling that will be out of scale with other homes in the stable neighborhood and therefore do not meet the general intent of the official plan. As it relates to the zoning bylaw, staff are concerned that the requested variance will facilitate the construction of a dwelling that does not reflect the intended scale of infill development permitted in the zoning bylaw. As it relates to the appropriate development of the property, the requested increase in gross floor area and coverage will result in a larger home, which, as proposed to be sited on the property, will likely conflict with the town's servicing infrastructure. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is not desirable for the appropriate development of the property. And finally, the variance considered minor in nature. The scale of the proposed dwelling is incompatible with the character of the majority of the existing homes in the neighborhood. And staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is not minor in nature. Other comments received from commenting agencies, the building division commenting that the preliminary zoning review was conducted to confirm the variance required for the proposed work. Engineering services, the proposed building may extend over and or is very close to a town storm sewer, which could potentially damage the town's storm sewer and may interfere with the town's ability to maintain or replace the storm sewer in the future. The applicant has not provided to the engineering division's satisfaction plans or reports prepared by a professional engineer to certify that the proposed development will not result in potential damage to the town's storm sewer or interfere in any way with the town's ability to maintain or replace the municipal storm sewer. Operational services comment, there are trees on the subject property and or property lines that may be impacted by excavation or disturbance due to construction. This may result in irreparable damage to the root system and or canopy to one or more of these trees. An arborist report may be required as a condition of approval to assess the impact on existing vegetation and explore mitigation measures. The owner shall provide tree compensation and or replanting for any tree removed in accordance with the town's proposal. Electric utilities, no comments with the proposed minor variance. Central York Fire Services, no comments provided at the time of the writing of the report. Legal Services and York Region, no comments with the proposed minor variance. And Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, no comments provided at the time of the writing of the report. The property is not located within LSRCA's regulated area. And I just want to make sure that the applicant is aware of the recommended conditions of approval. Those conditions are rather lengthy. And I believe there are 9 in total at this point. So with that, I'll ask the applicant or agent if they are with us tonight. I'll welcome them and ask if there is a presentation that they wish to make.
You hear me?
Yes, sir. Welcome
Well,
to
that's
the
good.
meeting.
I got my son here. That I'm lucky he's here because I wouldn't know what to touch. I'd be
Well,
just as frustrated as your previous guy, sort of say. I know I only got 5 minutes. Can I just make one comment first of all? Because you made a couple of comments regarding the sewer. This property has was granted a 22-foot easement, fairly way back for them to put the storm sewer in. But I don't know if it was incompetence or whatever it was. The town's engineer department decided to put the storm sewer not on the easement that was granted to them. It was put 5 feet away. So in a sense, that storm sewer is trespassing. They don't have the right to be where they put it in. They did put it on the easement. So I don't understand now they're telling us we got to give engineering drawings and all this kind of stuff for something they made a mistake on. I mean, it solves the problem quite easily if this thing's approved. Is that right now the side setback is 3 meters. If we go down to 1.5 meter, which is allowed by the bylaw, but now we go to 2-story, you have to go to 3 meters. Then would be a good 5 to 7 feet away from that particular thing. But I don't know what to do with the engineer when they put the storm sewer in the wrong location. We got an easement there. Why didn't they use the easement? I don't understand it. That's just to let you comment about that particular part of it.
Okay.
But I've worked with I've been working with the town actually for years on different projects. And I was hired as an agent to build this project for Mr. Fred, I'll call him right now. And he bought the property
let
to
me
build.
just ask you, Mr. D'Amico, so help us understand. So you're the owner or agent or both?
I'm not the owner, no. The owner hired me I'm a builder in town. I build a lot of houses. I do a lot of stuff in Hillview. So he hired me to build it and also do the development of it.
Yeah, I think we've got it, but can we get just your full name and address just for the record?
Sure. Frank D'Amico, D'Amico, 1 Gilbert Drive, Aurora. You want my zip code too? L4G 6W8.
Terrific. Thank you. That covers it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Not sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Anyways, Fred bought the property back in 2019, and he had put an offer on it, and do it subject to a due diligence. And he went to the town planning. They gave him the old zoning bylaw, which would allow everything we're trying to put on there today. And nobody mentioned to him there's going to be a new bylaw. It was in effect, which was being worked on at that time, because I was involved with it too, trying to fight at that time. But anyways, he wanted to build about a 5,000 square foot bungalow for his family, and he's got some ailing parents that he wanted to live with them, but they couldn't do it. So anyways, we started with the town and been a couple going back and forth with the planning. Now we do meet all the setbacks, the 2 side setbacks, the rear setback, the front setback. We meet also the height restriction, no problem. I know planning states that we're trying to get 480 square meters of GFA, but they don't really tell you that well, it's the truth what they're saying. But part of that includes a 3-car garage, which is it's about 60 square meters. So in reality of actual square footage of usable space for people, we don't live in a garage, it's 427 square meters. So in reality, what we're doing is we're asking for 15% increase from what's allowed. I tell you, this is the only municipality that I've worked in, and I've worked on many of them. I've been around for too long. I've been building for over 45 years. And that actually puts the garage as part of your living space. I don't know, maybe somebody else with a garage. I haven't seen anybody yet living in a garage that I know of. But that's not true space. But that's how the bylaw has been written here, so I have to live with it. The coverage allowed on this property is 35% coverage. What we're covering is 24%. It's this property in general is it's basically one of the largest properties in the stable neighborhood area. It basically has almost 80-foot frontage by 150-foot deep, and it backs onto basic green space. I know it's part of that geranium golf course, but they can't build any houses there, so it's basically green space behind us. So there won't be any issue with people behind us complaining about anything. And the 2 neighbors on both sides of us, they welcome the property. They have no issues at all. And the people in front of the property, the same thing. He wants it to happen. And I think I talked about the sewer already, what actually happened in the sewer. But, in reality, though, if I took 10 feet off the building, which I'm not saying I want to, because I read all the letters from the people that are objecting to it, and most of them are saying the impact of the street, or kill the street. Well, most of the places they were built in the 50s, the height of the buildings are about 10 feet high. They're all basically, like little bungalows that are fine in those days back in the 50s. But today, when you pay $1 million for one of these little small bungalows, you got to build something today's look. And the thing is, if I took 10 feet off the back of this property, the impact would be the same. Would still be a two-car garage frontage. It would still be the height. It would still be the setbacks. It would look exactly the same. and nobody would know the difference if a property was 50 feet deep or 40 feet deep. The impact's the same. I actually, when all the stable neighborhood was going on these public meetings, I was a strong against it, obviously, and but you know, the stable neighborhood people got it through. But in reality, it does not make a difference to the impact of the front. That's basically all I got to really say, really, on this little thing.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think if members of the committee will recall, I think there was a letter that Mr. D'Amico had actually sent to us, which basically, Mr. D'Amico, you've covered off just about, I think, everything in that letter that we've seen and heard. I'll just ask you, just before I ask for members of the public, because I do want to cover this off. I want to make sure that you did see all of the letters that have been received by the committee, and that the owner of the property has also seen those letters of concern. So
Yes.
You've seen them? Okay.
Yeah,
terrific.
I've read them all too. And
Okay.
Electric, a few of them, I know them quite well, some of the people there. And I don't know if you know this, I've the Hillview Drive, I basically started that street. And a few of the people that used to live on Hillview, and they started all the problems there. But there, I didn't need the help of the committee of judgment. I went basically by the bylaw, and they couldn't stop me. And now look at that street now, it's a gorgeous street.
Okay, appreciate that. For the record, I'll ask if there is ever anyone from the public who wishes to address the committee that has joined late.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have no live delegates for this application.
All right, thank you very much. So I'll look to members of the committee for any comments or questions of the applicant or staff. Okay, let's start with Stephen. Thank you. Go right ahead, Steve.
Good evening, Mr. D'Amico. I had prepared some questions in advance, and I think you may have answered my first one with the commentary, or with your commentary. But the question, as it was, is how you feel that your proposed application and the drawings comply with the stable neighborhood, and I think you've answered it in the sense that you were against the stable neighborhood. But I'll give you the opportunity to answer the question. Do you feel that it complies with the stable neighborhood? And if so, why?
There's not one property that I could build or anyone could build to comply with what's there today. That's your stable neighborhood. If I'm going to build a 1,500 square foot bungalow that the height is 10 feet high, that's the way I would be able to comply with for what you people call a stable neighborhood. There's no way.
Okay, fair enough. So obviously, as you alluded to, there was significant, lengthy consultations to come up with this new bylaw in consultation with the ratepayers and all of the existing residents. And there was a happy medium that was set with this new zoning bylaw, and it seems that yourself and the applicant are not willing to comply, which are substantially bigger than these bungalows that you referenced to it from the 50s. Why is it not possible to build a house that is in compliance with the new bylaw and with as it was brought into effect after consultation with the community and significant time and effort spent?
Well, I don't know if I'm trying to talk fast enough because of the time constraints, but I could comply to the square footage to a certain extent, very close to it. But the impact on the street wouldn't make any difference. There'd still be a 2-story house with the setbacks the way it is today, that particular plan is in front of you now will be identical and that will be approved.
No, I
You know,
understand.
it's be the back of it. So how does that change the, how can I make it look like a 1950 bungalow?
No,
Unless I build one like that.
With all due respect, and through you, Mr. Chair, we're not. I don't want to get into a debate on what the zoning was and the outcome of the consultation, because your point is well taken. If you chop 10 feet off the back of the house, you still have, something that is not similar to a 50s bungalow. Still would need to go through site plan control and all of the other aspects. But the point here is, I don't want to debate it, but what I'm hearing here today is that we bought a house, we want to build what we want to build, and the existing street the existing owners need to understand that it's going to change, and we don't feel like complying with the new bylaw of the stable neighborhood. And I hate to be blunt, but I see this as a very slippery slope here if we were to consider approving it, because what we're essentially saying is that the bylaws are not worth the paper they're written on. And I am very interested in hearing your opinion as to why that slippery slope, why this would not be a slippery slope, and why any bylaw would be applicable here, because all that's being offered is the bylaw. You're not in agreement with the bylaw, and your applicant, your owner is not in agreement with the bylaw.
Well, because I think that this particular situation, first of all, I think because of the size of the property, I should have been exempt from it, which I feel a lot of the problem. I mean, I know that a good half a dozen were exempt from the stable neighborhood bylaw. Like on this one here, probably won't be approved on it, but so when I can go for a rezoning. So I take a rezoning, and of course, council is going to turn it down. So the next step would be LATPAT, and then maybe LATPAT turns it down. So you go to OMB, and this fella is actually prepared to do all that. That's what he told me. I mean, which is, I'm not a threat. Please don't get that as a threat whatsoever. But he just feels that he was been. They changed the goalposts on him after he went to the town and looked for the bylaw. They gave him a copy of the bylaw, and then they changed it on him. And a lot of people, there's about 40 different people right now that are putting together a group to basically, it's a lawsuit against the town and the council for doing what they did. Because if they would have done the proper way, is that they knew there was a lot of homes were sold in the last couple of years in these particular areas. And they're basically to rebuild. They're not to live in. Most of these people are buying these $700,000 to $1 million for these older homes. And they should have, what it should have done is basically, yes, the stable neighborhood's great, but they should have had a due date. Anybody that buys properties from that date on has to live with that particular problem. Anything before that should be able to still go with the old bylaw. I mean, they changed the rules at midstream, basically, what they've done.
I'm quite familiar with the process. I think you've answered my questions. I mean, at the end of the day, I think there's a process for grandfathering. It sounds to me that yourselves and the owner are not in agreement with what happened, which, I think you're well aware of the Committee of Adjustment. We have to look at it based on the zoning that's in front of us today. And
right. No.
all I will say is that I will make my decision based on that zoning. And
I understand exactly, but you're, as a Committee of Adjustment, like I've been in front of many of your committees. I mean, it's not a minor variance. I agree with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Daniel, go right ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. I also have just a few questions. how long has the owner held the property? How long ago did he purchase the property?
2019.
2019. So well after the changes in the bylaws.
I'm sorry?
This would have been after the bylaw changes, when the stable neighborhood was, thank you, when the stable neighborhood was introduced, those changes were done before the property was purchased by the current owner. Is that correct?
No, he bought the property just prior to the new bylaw being finalized. Because he had
Being
time,
finalized.
maybe a 6-month closing, that kind of stuff, timing between purchasing the property and checking out the zoning and then the actual closing. I don't have exact dates, so I can find out for you for sure.
Okay. On the comments that you had, I drove around today. It was such a nice day. I figured I'll go look at it without snow. Questions about elevation and so forth, I'll leave out for now, and I'll have some others similar to that for the town in a minute. But I did take a look at new homes that were built in the area on the same street, around the curve. Brooklyn is one of those streets that road turns into. And I looked at some new homes. Homes that were obviously built within the last, at least within the last decade, a new style, new modern look to them. So obviously new, modern homes. And those modern homes, I'm looking at 51 Brooklyn as one that I stopped and took a picture of. Brand new home. There's not even grass in the interlock yet. It's so fresh. And it's a bungalow. It has a second floor, a little bit of looks like a little landing area on the top of the garage, but it's a bungalow, brand new home, and looks quite nice. And they went a little bit deep with it, but they left it, and it meets very much into the neighborhood. And in fact, if I look at it through Google Maps, which is what I'm doing now, you can't really see the house because of the tree in front of the property. What obstacles are in place for this owner to follow the same process? You're talking about how in 2021, homes have to be huge. While if I drive, obviously taking the house across the street from this property out of the equation, because it's very similar to the one being proposed. But if you look at other homes, why can't these homes be, what's wrong with this style as opposed to what you were describing as 2021 homes have to be humongous?
Everybody's got different tastes and different ideas, that's all really. I mean, I know the house you're talking about, the one in Brooklyn, that one there, my understanding is about 2,100 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this particular family, they got children and also their mother and father. And they need the space. And I guess they can afford to build a bigger home too.
But is that something new that happened within the last 2 years as requiring a bigger space for additional family? Was that not taken into account when the property was purchased?
Well, they thought they were able to build about 5,000 square foot home there.
So it was their intent from day one to tear down their home.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Well, that was the other thing. That's why he was able to pay $1 million for the lot.
Okay.
That's basically what happened there.
Well, I will say I appreciate your honesty in terms of the intent here and everything. So I'll just have one more question for the town then. Does the town have any guidances in terms of what constitutes a story? What constitutes a foundation layer before the first floor is considered? And on top of that, is there any general guidance in terms of the average height that a two-story home should have? And that's to the town.
Well, there is a bylaw there, 10 meters. So it's top of the building.
As per the height of a foundation layer above the first floor?
Yeah, 1.8 meters.
Let's just get staff there to respond to that. That question was directed to staff. So either Rosanna, go ahead. Your mic is muted, Rosanna.
Oh, sorry about that. What I'll do is I'll grab the zoning bylaw and make sure I give the exact number for you. So if you just give me a minute, you guys can proceed and I will get that for you.
Perfect. And at the same time, that the second question is probably going to be in the same area, what an
Yes.
average two-story home should be. I'm sure there's a range that
The
that
height,
was noted.
the height, yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt through you, Mr. Chair. If I could provide a response. These basement and first story and story are all defined terms in the town zoning bylaw. So the basement essentially is the portion of a building that is below the first story. The first story is then further defined to say that it's the story with the floor closest to grade and having a ceiling height more than 1.8 meters above the average finished grade at the exterior wall.
Okay, so there's no real indication as to when the first story floor and the ground, what distance there should be within there as a maximum. How many steps can you climb until you start to get to your first floor?
The bylaw regulates height in terms of meters, not necessarily stories. So you could potentially have a 3-story dwelling within the maximum 9.9 meters. I'm not sure exactly what that works out in terms of ceiling height per story, but I believe it would be possible. But the stable neighborhoods bylaw regulates height in term with that metric number 9.9 meters and not necessarily the story. What's interesting is that the maximum gross floor area excludes basements. So the minute the basement is 1.8 meters above grade, it's automatically considered the first story, and then that floor area is included in the maximum gross floor area, whereas most basements are below the 1.8 meters in terms of that height, and they're excluded.
So that's what I'm trying to get to, is an understanding as to the frontage of this home, which is according, although the lines are not perfectly aligned, but I'm seeing about a 32.5 height of the home, which is well above the average of a 2-story dwelling, being somewhere in between 20 to 23, including the homes beside, which are 2-story and have that their height fall within that range. So we're looking at a good 10 feet difference between this 2-story, quote unquote, 2-story home versus the other 2-story homes, whether in this neighborhood or just in general planning terms. And that's sort of what I'm trying to understand, is the definition of a 2-story when you have a garage on top of a first floor on top of a second floor, totaling 32 within a space that is supposed to be, at least according to the intent, within a 20 to 23 foot maximum height. That's the aspect I'm trying to better understand with my questioning.
So
understood.
Yeah, no, I think just to help clarify this, when you look at the front elevation, and if you look at the way that it measures on the drawing, your average grade is at 267.13 meters, and the top of the roof is at 277.03 meters. So to Daniel's comment there, he's looking for clarification on the basis of how many stories really does this work out to? Is it a 2-story or a 3-story? And it looks like from the front elevation, it's very close to what would be considered 3 stories. But and the way the property then goes back, obviously the back of the house is clearly at that point that basement level, if you want to call it that, comes out pretty much at grade. And so from the back, you would be looking up at a 3-story building. So I understand where you're coming from on that point, Daniel. Did you have anything else to the either applicant or to staff?
I guess I'll just leave it with Frank as a last question in terms of, do you, with the honesty that you've brought forward so far in this call, do you consider this as a standard 2-story, or do you see this more as maybe a 2.5-story, or how do you define this home in terms of front view?
A 2-story for sure, definitely.
2-story. Okay. All right. That would be all. Thank you, Tom.
Yep. No problem. Thank you, Daniel. Michelle.
Okay, just unmuting. Okay, so yeah, I'm looking at this agreement or at this application and the staff report, and with your admission as well that this requested variance is not minor. Well, you know what? I concur that I agree with both yourself and staff that this variance is not minor at all. I'm also concerned about the storm sewers and the potential damage in digging in there. It doesn't matter whose fault it is and who messed up. The storm sewers are there and they could be potentially damaged. So I am, not very, happy about that potentially happening. And the zoning bylaws, to Steve's point, were put in place for the stable neighborhood for a reason. And it's my opinion that after all of the discussion and arguments and meetings and so on, and effort that has been put forth for the zoning bylaw, my thought is that a 370 meter home in terms of gross floor area is a large home. And I see there's no reason why a home of that size can be put on that property. So I think you know where my vote is going. So I just wanted to put those comments forth. And if you'd like to respond through the chair to the applicant, please feel free.
Okay, I will respond to one thing. When you just said about the sewer, it doesn't matter who made the mistake, but they're sitting on the man's property, not on the easement. And they want us being this particular felon, regardless of what we build there. So let's assume that we build a smaller house, will still be the same problem. It was not his fault. The engineering department was granted a 21-foot easement, and they decided to put it 5 feet away from there. And the thing is, because it's a 2-story house, the new stable neighborhood side yard setback on a 2-story is 3 meters. And if it goes to 1.5 meters, there's no issues at all. And the thing is, the house was already built, the existing house was already built when the town decided to put the storm sewer in and put it right almost against the existing house that's there today. I mean, I know you said, well, it doesn't matter who made the mistake, but now who's gonna fix it? You know what I'm saying? The guy bought an 80-foot lot. They've taken 21 feet away from him without no compensation. Then they come around and don't use the 21 feet, and then they take 5 feet away from him without even permission. Is that fair? And you say, well, who cares who did a mistake? That's not fair either. But your comment. Engineer department, you want us, the owner to go get an engineering department, the engineers to do drawings for them. They're the ones who made the mistake. They're the ones who should fix it, not the owner. They're basically expropriated as part of his property without no compensation. He paid a lot of money because it was an 80-foot lot, not a 50-foot lot.
Okay. Yeah, your comment was made in your presentation, Mr. D'Amico, and we hear you. Although I'm going to challenge you a little bit on this one. Michelle, are you okay at this point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am. Thank you.
So-
Notwithstanding, we do have these zoning bylaws and a stable neighborhood and the size of houses and so on in there for a reason. And, the zoning, the bylaws that are there can certainly accommodate a large home. And I think, I think that's why the stable in the neighborhood and the changes were made. So, yeah, like to your point, Mr. D'Amico, it's not minor, and you need to meet all 4 tests, and there's one that's out the window. So that's yeah. Thanks, Tom. That's my comment for this.
Thank you. Mr. D'Amico, I've got a couple of questions for you. The answers may be obvious, but I'd like to go on record with you. So the existing house is approximately 2,000 square feet. Am I correct?
The existing one, just under that, about 1,800, yes.
Okay. Under the new regulation, if my math is correct, you'd be able to build almost 4,000 square feet, 3,981 by my math, which is what 370 square meters turns into. Did you or I don't know who did the design for the home, but was there any attempt to try and bring the square footage initially close to that number?
Yes. I recommended it to the owner at the time, but he basically wants, because of his family size, he wanted a bigger home.
So we go from 3,981 to 5,211. Am I correct? Okay,
I'm not going to fight you on that one there. I don't call it 5,200. I'm looking for living space. It's more like 4,700. Yeah.
We have to live with the regulation as it stands, and we've been the town's been very clear. And I think there was some discussion when we deferred this to get clarity on that aspect of it. So we're now clear, and obviously you're presenting this application with the numbers that we're working with, understanding that you're looking to go from approximately 2,000 square feet to 5,211. And oh, by the way, we've seen a lot of two-car garages become one-car garages pretty quickly, to speak to square footage of usable floor space. So I'm not going to debate that. You're showing a two-car garage. I'm not suggesting that you would come back or your owner would come back and start knocking garage walls down in order to create more space. But at the same time, I look at, typically a committee of adjustment, you've appeared before them in the past, looks to manage a hardship, which doesn't fit within the general parameters of the bylaw. And when I look at this particular home and what you're trying to accomplish to allow aging parents to move in and a couple of children and possibly a nanny or a caregiver, I'm looking at the interior design of the home, and I can tell you that some of these room sizes and some of their use goes what I would consider a hardship. And so, I know you're smiling, and I know what you're going to say is that's what your client wants. But the rules are put forward for a reason, and we look at a lot of cases where a hardship is involved, and it justifies the committee looking at a minor variance. And I think you will agree that looking at the design of the home, and I'm talking about the interior design of the home, you're going well beyond what we would consider minor and well beyond what we would consider a hardship, if I'm correct in that. And you can agree or you can disagree, or you can make a comment on that if you wish.
No comments.
Okay. I just want to go on record there. One other thing I want to ask you, and a point I'm going to make. You mentioned that there was no compensation given to the owner. You're talking about the current owner. You're not talking about a previous owner, because you don't know what compensation there may or may not have been given to the original owner of this home. So your argument about compensation means absolutely nothing. The other comment I'm going to make is that your client, your owner, at closing would have been made aware that there is a servitude or an easement on that property. So in your letter, you indicated that there was one legal easement and another illegal easement. And I asked staff if they could help clarify your comment. And I believe Anna was kind enough to get back to me and provide me with something that I kind of thought was the case. This easement for municipal services is one. And there's always, or typically, another easement, a legal easement across the back of the property that's usually registered on title for either hydro or for Bell or one of the other utilities. So can you please tell me what was the illegal easement that you referred to?
Okay. I don't want to call it an easement because it's not an easement. They just put the sewer there, the sewer there. Right in the front of the property. I know you're talking about the one in the back. The back is your normal Bell or cable or hydro, whatever, which I understand that one. Right here, if you look at the site plan there, I don't know if you got it there.
I do.
In front of you. And if you're looking at the front, on the right-hand side of the property, there's a line there that shows an easement, 22 feet, or 21 feet, I should say. There's a line. And then right beside the existing foundation, you see a manhole near the back of the on the side of the house, beside the garage. There's a manhole.
Let me just make this a little bit bigger so I can see it.
You see where the garage is, the existing garage?
Yes.
Right beside the, almost in the back of the garage is a manhole.
Yes, correct.
Okay, that particular one there, that man, see, and right beside that, about 5 feet away from that, to going to the east, is the actual legal easement, which is about 21 feet, and it also goes over the next door neighbor's portion, and it sort of goes right to the back and then turns to the right.
Yeah.
When he bought the property, of course, the lawyer showed him that particular easement, no problem. But the other easement that was put in wrongly, not an easement, but the new water line and main hole was done after that house was built. That existing home, like whenever it was 25, 30 years ago. Yeah. And then the manhole was put right there, and the storm on the water or the sewer line, I think it is, was put right there. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's the one I call it the illegal one that they're telling us we should get engineer drawings done. I mean, why would I get engineer drawings done? They're the ones who put it there, and it's not. They should have put it where it's supposed to be, on the easement. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So, okay, that helps me a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that information. When I look at it, I can see where you're coming from on that one. That makes a little bit more sense. I don't know what that manhole is for, what it's covering. You mentioned water. I'm not sure.
It's sewer.
That's sewer.
The engineer department says it's a sewer line that they put there. And I said, well, I can move it during construction very easily. They said, no, you're not going to touch it. Give us engineering drawing. And I said, guys, you're the guys who put it there. I mean, why should I spend money with the engineer? I mean, and the only thing is that if the setback is, 1.5 is the setback on the other side. If I move another 5 feet, I got no problem. But what I'm saying to you is that going to what you're saying yourself about the existing foundation covers about 2,000 square feet approximately. Yeah. Build on the existing foundation or similar to it, I go to 4,000 square feet approximately. And,
Yeah, you're basically
the
doubling
thing
the
is,
square.
which is fine, but the impact on the street would be no different than what I'm doing today. Because the frontage will look the same. You know what I'm getting at? That's the silly part about it.
I totally know what you're getting at, but here's the other caveat then, and I was going to bring this up. So we've seen a lot of correspondence from the public and from ratepayer associations who speak for a larger group opposed to this application. You've just mentioned that both neighbors on east and west sides of your client's property and across the street are welcoming this. Do we have anything from them that's supporting this application? I mean,
Well,
you're
they just
saying
said verbally
something.
to the guys, like, "Oh, good luck,
Okay.
guy," that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well,
just over.
okay, so we can't really take that as at any other.
Well, I'll put it this way: they sure did send a letter in to do going against it, did they?
I'm sorry, what was the comment?
No, I'm saying they did not send any letters objecting, and they're the ones who should be objecting more than anybody. This might be right in their backyard, right? They didn't object.
I can sympathize with your point, but when someone says we've got support from people, we would like to either have them appear before the committee or have a letter or even an email, that indicates their support. We typically, in some of these deferrals, we ask, listen, you didn't get support from your neighbors in a deferral, suggest that you go ahead and do that. But having said that, I just wanted clarity on that, if you had anything in writing or if there was an email or what have you. So, okay, I have to say that this is certainly not minor in nature, and I can also say that if I was a neighbor looking at the extension across the back being a 3-story building, in my opinion, I don't know that I would be all that excited about it. As far as the existing easement is concerned, it's there. It was there when your client bought the property, and it's something that either they didn't do their due diligence on, or it was withheld for whatever reason. I don't know. Okay, I have no more comments or questions. I'm going to look to the committee for a motion on this application. Stephen, thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, with respect to the minor variance application 2020-23 60 Ferry Drive, I move that we deny the application on the basis that it does not meet the general intent of the official plan. It does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw. It is not desirable development for the property. And by the applicant's own admission, this is not a minor variance in nature, notwithstanding the placement of the easement, which in my opinion is not a factor in this case and is a matter that should be addressed outside of the Committee of Adjustment with the town.
Thank you. I'll look for a seconder. Seconded. I see Daniel there, your hand up. Thank you very much. Call a question. All of those in favor of the motion as presented? And that carries. So thank you very much, Mr. D'Amico. I think you've indicated your intent moving forward. However, the Committee of Adjustment has taken the position in agreement with staff's recommendations and report that your minor variance application is hereby denied.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll go back to Prashanthi. Have we been able to work out the technical issues?
I really hope so. Hugh has he's called in, so I think we'll just we'll admit him and
all right,
go from there.
Thank you very much.
Hello, are you talking to me?
Mr. Walker, can you hear me?
I can hear very quietly. Let me just turn up the volume.
Sure, by all means, take your time.
Much better. I can hear you now. I had the volume down because the music was driving me crazy.
Okay. Well, listen, let me first, on a motion that was made earlier, we moved to switch the applications around. So I'm going to recall this item. So this is minor variance 2021 -07. This is for 26 Machel Avenue. We're going to dispense with going through the application. We are all now familiar with what you are requesting. And we were at the point, Mr. Walker, where members of the committee wanted to know whether or not you wish to speak on behalf of your application.
Well, yes, I've read the minor variance report, staff reports, and I have some questions there, but I just wanted to give you some additional information with regard to my opinion on minor variances A through E. I would love to talk.
All right.
You don't mind?
So, yes, by all means. So, Mr. Walker, you are the owner of 26 Machel Avenue, am I correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right, so we've got you in. So please go right ahead. If you want to speak to any part of the application, now's your time.
Everybody can hear me at the moment because I'm not seeing any video or anything, so I'm going blind. Everybody can hear me or see me, correct?
All of us are shaking our head yes.
Oh, good. Somebody just started connection. Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Hold on. That's pickup from the phone. You've got pickup from the phone now. You've got to turn off your mic.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think, Mr. Walker, if you just mute your computer mic the way you had it before, and then just use the telephone for your audio and video, and you can use Zoom for your video. But you're creating feedback if you have your Zoom unmuted, which it is right now. But we've lost the phone now for some reason.
Yeah, we've lost the phone.
He may have muted his phone because the phone is there. You need to unmute your phone.
The phone.
So he's muted his Zoom mic.
Yeah.
And I think on Zoom, he's listening to YouTube, so there's probably a delay. So he probably doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. Hugh, when this catches up to you, you've muted your cell phone or your house phone. We haven't been able to hear you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, no problem. So, Mr. Walker, we cannot hear you. Sorry, it looks like, okay, now you've unmuted your Zoom link.
Okay.
Oh, that's actually, you know what? If you hang up the phone, it sounds like it's going through the computer now.
I think it's going through the computer, isn't it? I'm going to hang up. Okay. Stephen, can you hear me now?
Yes, and you're
perfect.
Yeah.
And I've hung up the phone.
Perfect. All right. Away you go.
You, ladies and gentlemen, deserve kudos for putting up with this. I'm sorry. You're my first real Zoom call, and now we're in business. All right. I'm ready to give a talk.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. My name is Hugh Walker, and I'm here today, finally, with regard to my application, file number MV 2021-07, to renovate my home at 26 Machel Avenue. Five minor variances with the bylaw requirements numbering A through E, which can be divided into two groups, A through D and variance E. Looking at the first group, we noticed that all 4 variances are to do with the fact that I wish to repair the foundations, which will also level and straighten out the house. Town staff appear to have no major concerns, are satisfied and willing to allow the project to proceed on those 4 variances. And I presume the committee members are in agreement. We can move on to the final minor variance, E, which is the stumbling block. The town appears to have 2 concerns regarding variance E. Namely, staff are concerned that variance E will adversely affect the attractiveness of the streetscape character and compromise the privacy of the adjacent property. To address the attractiveness concern first, I offer a solution. As my drawings show, I was proposing a wooden fence with 4x4 posts interspersed with pickets. This design was chosen for 2 reasons. 1, increased safety, and 2, to match the rear deck. However, I agree with the town that when viewed from the street, it will look out of place, i.e. that wooden picket fence. You cannot see the deck, and therefore the wooden fence, in my opinion, will appear in isolation, subtracting from the attractiveness of the streetscape character. So I will replace the wooden fence with a metal railing of an identical style to that which the town uses to protect pedestrians just outside my house, number 26, the 2 houses to the south and the 2 houses to the north. Now to the privacy concern of minor variance E. Quoting again from the staff report, it says, staff believe there are opportunities to improve the situation by reducing the size of the landing or reorienting the stairs. Let's consider the latter opportunity first. Reorienting the stairs means stairs running perpendicular to the rear retaining wall. That is, in my opinion, an isolated platform of stairs as they descend the 2.54 meters or 8 feet drop down to grade. I believe it would look excessive for a narrow property like 26 Matchell. It most certainly will, and here again I quote the staff report, obstruct the visual openness of the north side yard. Members of the committee who visited my site, the property, will understand what I'm talking about there. So I believe the better solution would be to reposition the landing. I would prefer to not reduce the length of the landing, especially considering the typical usage for the stairs, i.e. bringing in bags of grass seed, fertilizer, gardening stuff, removing yard waste, full leaf bags in the fall, returning lawnmowers for repair, etc. It's not a major pedestrian thoroughfare. It's more to gain input and output to the garden. After recalculating, I see that I can increase the stair rise to the legal maximum, reduce the stair tread to the legal minimum, with the result that the northern edge of the landing can be moved 0.48 meters away from the adjacent property to the north. That's where the issue is with regard to the stairs and landing. Therefore, I will update the drawing to show that the landing will be moved such that the northern edge is 0.3 meters from my neighbor's property line, thus satisfying town concerns. And that was the end of my address, but I do have a couple of other points that I think maybe that the committee might be willing to listen if I can find them. One point in particular is this. Okay, let me just read what I wrote. I note that the town makes references to the attractiveness of the streetscape character. They do that 3 times, once on page 4, twice on page 6. In 2 of those 3 times, reference is made to the stairs being the culprit. For example, staff are concerned that the stairs will obstruct the visual openness of the north side yard and consequently affect the attractiveness of the streetscape. And another quote, staff consider the proposed stair and landing encroachment in the north side yard excessive and will have negative impact on the attractiveness of the streetscape. That's what town says. Let us now consider that the project as proposed is completed. My request to the town, not to the committee, but to the town, would be to ask them where exactly on Matchell Avenue they intend to stand while also being able to see the stairs. It's a physical possibility. After all, the stairs are attached to the rear of the house and the retaining wall, and consequently, in my opinion, invisible to any and all locations on the street. Certainly they'll be visible from my garden chair, which is why they're attached to the rear wall in an as unobtrusive a manner as possible. While the town is explaining this optical miracle, perhaps the committee would like to turn to page 12 of the 29-page application circulation to view the existing, in quotes, attractiveness of the streetscape character. Tom, rest of the committee, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. I just want to commend you for your patience and hanging in with us to try and get the technical aspects of this meeting resolved to your satisfaction. And let me on the record then, just before we go any further, Prashanti, I do not believe there is anyone here from the public who wishes to speak to the committee on this application.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we have no members of the public for this application.
Thank you. Just a minor comment just before we go to questions. On this particular application, Mr. Walker, are you familiar with the proposed conditions that were included in the staff report? And I just really draw your attention to the requirement or the comment that because of the proximity of your house to property lines and what have you, the town is asking you to obtain letters from your neighbors. Have you approached your neighbors at all on?
I must confess, Tom, I laughed when I read that because we do something on Matchell which maybe they're not familiar with. We communicate with our neighbors. I have certainly spoken with Michael and Florence to the south at number 24. I have 2 signed documents from them. One, they understand that the house encroaches into it by 6 centimeters into the corner of their property. They're quite happy with that situation. They have no objections to that situation. So I've got one letter signed with that. The other letter basically in reference to construction work on the property. They've also signed it and no objections. On the north side, I'm not dealing with an owner occupier. I'm dealing with a landlord. His name is Chris, another friend of mine, another person I'm well aware of. And I have both letters from him as well. He has no objections to the house, to the stairs and landing being close to basically what boils down to the wall at the back of his house rather than a window or a door, but anybody who visited the site might have seen that. And he's also in agreement with any possible construction that will be involved courtesy of doing the retaining walls.
All right, thank you. I think that's significant and very, very important that that those recommendations on conditions of approval that you are aware of and you've taken that into account and you've acted on that. We obviously at this point, Mr. Walker, haven't seen those letters, so we'll presume that they can be readily produced for staff. I'll let members of the committee then make it.
Excuse me, Tom, if I may interrupt for a second. I did one with Michael and Florence some time ago, back in December when I first approached the town, and that one was attached to a documentation which I see has now been included into the, what do they call it, application circulation, the 29-page document, and it's right after my photographs. And it starts on what would be considered page 13. So that's a representative example of what I'm getting from them.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for that clarification. So members of the committee, are there any comments? Let's start with Michelle. Thank you very much. And your mic is muted, Michelle.
Oh, good. It's not me.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. I was looking at the
Michelle.
plan. Hi, good evening, Mr. Walker.
Good evening, Michelle. Hi.
So through you, the chair, I just want to get clarification from the applicant that you are looking to comply with the item E.
yes and no. Okay, I'm certainly willing to comply with moving the landing on the stairs away from the northern edge of my property. I'm having a lot of difficulty understanding how I can comply with the attractiveness because I do not understand their question.
Yeah,
As I said to you
yeah,
earlier, I
that's not
mentioned
what I'm
that.
asking. I'm not asking about if it's attractive or not. I just want to just ask the question that the section 4.0 of the zoning bylaw requires the steps in the landing to maintain a minimum of 0.3 meters from
Yes.
the interior side lot. You're
I will
gonna
be doing
you're
that.
okay
Yeah,
with that?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, and then a question to the town that if the applicant is going to comply, can we remove item E, or how do we deal with that?
So, Michelle, what we would do is we would bring let's say, for example, we wanted to bring a resolution, motion forward to approve, A through D. And in the same motion, you could, and deny.
Okay,
It's easier for us to deny it because he's basically telling us that he would comply there.
right. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that's how we would make the motion.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. That's all. No other questions. The rest are I'm good with. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Daniel or Stephen? Stephen.
So question to staff. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Question to staff, just clarifying, the point by Mr. Walker that it looks like some of the comments are predicated on building materials and design, and this property would be subject to site plan, and those would be elements considered in site plan, correct? Not to be considered by the Committee of Adjustment.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Through the chair, this application won't be going through site plan.
No.
It would be if approved tonight, they could, subject to the appeal, anything, they can apply for a building permit afterwards.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, thank you, Roseanne. And through Mr. Chair, I guess it's an interesting dilemma here. I think. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's a moot point. But we're looking at the appeal of the of the landing and the staircase, and should the applicant comply with the interior side lot setback, really the materials and the arguments that are essentially the staircase would still be visible. It would not change the visibility. However, there would be it would be in compliance, and that's my point here. That there's in the staff report, there's a lot of we're looking at the streetscape, but essentially the staircase and the landing would still be there, but in compliance with the zoning. So I don't believe that there's anything for the Committee of Adjustment to consider there in terms of the look from the streetscape, as long as it complies, even though there's no material change to the construction that's being proposed or the drawings that are being proposed, right? Would that be an accurate interpretation here?
I would agree with that, Steve. I think what Mr. Walker is suggesting from an aesthetics point of view is just there in order to address staff's comments. And, I think that's just it does become a moot point, because if he's complying with the setback there now, he's demonstrating that he's prepared to make some adjustments that not only address the setback, but address the aesthetics nature of staff's comments. So, yeah.
Well, to be honest, I have difficulty understanding the aesthetic nature of staff's comments.
Yeah.
Because they don't make any sense.
I think,
how do they?
Thank you, Mr. Walker, and through you, Mr. Chair. I think as we've discussed, it's a moot point. So I'm prepared to proceed. Thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Daniel, any comments on this application?
No, letting my colleagues go first actually was quite wise, because especially Steve asked everything I was thinking. So thank you.
Mr. Walker, just for the record, I pulled up the initial package that was circulated, including all of the photographs.
Yes.
And I will admit, I did go by your property and, had a good look. I didn't venture too far down. I understood what you were trying to do there. And so the letter that you spoke of is there in that package. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, along with the original drawings that were circulated to the committee. I'm happy that that we're helping to resolve two issues: one, the setback, and the other, the issue on privacy. And I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that you did go to your neighbors and have a discussion with them, and your honesty about the situation with regards to the property owner to the north of you being an investment property or what have you. And so I agree. I don't have any problems then myself with the remainder of the application, and I think it's probably easier, as I'd mentioned, Michelle, that we go through one motion, but it'll address the first series of applications. They're separated, so to pull E out of that separately and carry it as a single motion, that would be my suggestion to the committee. So I'll look to the committee then for a motion on this application. Michelle, your great idea, so let
All right, so through the chair, I would like to make a motion to approve minor variance dash 2021-07 at 26 Matchell Avenue and approve items A, B, C, and D, and deny item E on the application. And that is with the conditions in Appendix A.
Thank you very much. I think that covered it very nicely. Is there a seconder for that motion? See a seconder, Steve? Yes, thank you. So we'll call the question. All of those in favor of the motion as presented? And that carries unanimously. So thank you very much, Mr. Walker. And again, I take my hat off to you. If this was your first Zoom meeting, you did very well. So
thank you, Tom. I worked in electronics and I used Skype when it first started, and it drove me bananas because it was very, very fragile. And I was very impressed on Tuesday when Ishita and Rathanthi communicated, because everything worked smoothly, like it's working right now. So I'm happy now. But thank you very much. And I appreciate your patience in waiting for me as I pulled my hair out. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I'll just, I wanted to just go back to this just for 1 second. Michelle made the motion. I think, Steve, you seconded it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was Steve who did second that, Prashanti. Thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to make sure we covered that. So, Mr. Walker, I'll bid you a very good evening, and I appreciate your patience.
No, I appreciate yours even more. Thank you very much.
So I'll look to the committee. Is there any new business arising? Nothing? Okay. And from my side, again, to Linda and David for being with us tonight as observers under new business. I want to welcome both of you to the Committee of Adjustment. For a period of time, we will be sitting with 6 members, which means there is a possibility of a tie. And so before going forward, and I think this will probably come up during the training session, if we do end up in a tie, just for the benefit of everyone, that motion would be deemed to have failed. So we'll try and avoid ties if we can. And so I'll just remind members of the committee that there is a training session set for March the 18th from 10 a.m. to 12. And it's going to cover off Committee of Adjustment the appeals tribunal and property standards in that 2-hour window. I think some of us have already taken part in one of those sessions. And I don't think if there's anything else, anything from staff, either from Anna or Prashanthi or Rosanna. Is there anything new under new business?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have no new business.
Okay, thank you. And nothing from Anna. Terrific. All right. So with that, I'll thank staff for its due diligence and efforts in bringing the technical expertise to bear on this meeting this evening. Thank you very much. And I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Oh boy. Okay, Daniel. And that doesn't require a seconder or a vote, so we are adjourned. Thank you very much. If there is anyone who wants to join us in the breakout room, we can move there.